We're sitting here and it's super, super dark. Sweet Christmas. What's going on, everybody? King of Chaos here, in with the boss man, Joey B. He's going right ahead, and he is sharing this lovely, wonderful, excellent, action-packed video. And I think you guys should probably do the same, too. Go right ahead and share it. Let more people hop on in. By the way, hop on in yourselves with questions, comments, concerns, response, anything that you're doing.
No, we haven't done
hop
in a while.
on in. What haven't we done in a while? Was you cut me off as I'm giving the fucking beginning spiel.
What pisses Joey B off?
What pisses Joey B off? Sure. Let's hop in with a what pisses Joey B off. Feed the fat man's ego. Go ahead. What pisses Joey B off this week?
I don't know. That was your little segment you had, remember? We haven't done that in weeks.
So why don't we do it? What pisses you off this week, Joe?
I don't know. You usually start me up. I have no idea.
Oh, the golden girl listening in.
I'm in a decent mood today.
Yeah, it's surprising. He is in a decent mood today. So let's hop on to some actual wrestling stuff. Let's see if anything makes Joe upset. Over dinner, Joe and I were discussing the mid-90s WCW, WWF, kind of that whole feud and what's going on. We were actually discussing listening to other podcasts. As many of you know, we're huge fans of the Something to Wrestle With podcast. I'm actually a pretty decent fan of the What Happened When podcast with Tony Schiavone. Excuse me. Where Tony, will talk about WCW stuff. Joe expressed that he is not much a fan of that. And, again, for me, I was a big WCW fan at the time.
I'm not a fan of the watch-alongs. If they do a segment on the Horsemen and they that's fine. It's when you have to watch along the pay-per-views, I'm not crazy about that.
And I get that, so for me...
Even when Pritchard does it, I'm not crazy about it.
Right, but for me, if it's a pay-per-view that I know back to front, like they just did Spring Stampede, which is a pay-per-view that I know totally back from front, it's fun for me to watch, to get somebody on the insides, like, inner, context for everything. That's pretty cool to me, personally. Just how I feel. But we were also talking about that era of WCW where, from, I guess, a business standpoint, you bring in Hogan and, things get better business-wise. I mean, it's Hulk Hogan, everybody knows his name, but everybody knows garbage, and that stinks when it gets old, too. But from an artistic standpoint, from actually enjoying wrestling, we were talking about the fact that, honestly, because if you watch Spring Stampede, I genuinely push everybody, if you can, check that show out. It's top to bottom excellent. And then I think the show after that is when Hogan came in, and it was...
It had to be Bash at the Beach. But you're talking about the wrestling in WCW and getting bad, let's say, that pay-per-view or the one following that when Hogan came in. They had a small window of decent pay-per-views because prior to 93, they had some really shitty fucking pay-per-views.
Right, but it seemed like they were on an upswing.
I agree. They got better for a little bit, and then it just...
And it's not like, it's not like they were, it was just when the WWF rejects came in, they were, went to shit, because Boss Man was there for a hot minute. He had a great match with Vader at Spring Stampede. A really good match with Vader.
Well, who were the rejects? Earthquake, Brian Blair. He didn't really wrestle. Hacksaw.
Who?
Brian Blair. He was in
who cares about
Hacksaw, Beefcake.
Yeah, those guys, but then you get Kamala technically.
He came a little bit later. About a year later. Nasty Boys.
Oh, Nasty's been all over the place.
But they were there. They were actually there prior to that. Because they did that for the feud with Cactus Jack and Van Mountain Rock.
Yeah, no, that was a hell of a fun.
Yeah.
That was that same show, was it not?
I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I think that was prior.
No, I think it was, because it was the Nasties versus Cactus and Man Mountain Rock on that show.
Who's who leaves town?
I don't remember if it was, but I think because I remember talking about it. Yeah. Well, again, that show was great, and then Hogan came in, and it was kind of all over.
Macho Man came in with Hogan after Hogan.
Right, but that's the thing is that, as good as these guys were, as great as they were for business, again, from a standpoint of actually just watching and trying to enjoy this stuff, it wasn't fun.
Savage had a lot of good matches with people, though.
Savage had a banger with what's his face, DDP.
Flair.
Right. So but that's the thing. Before they really started importing the cruiserweights and making that a massive part of things, honestly, before #96, that 94 to 96 of Hogan was kind of shit.
Who do you wrestle? Loch Ness Monster.
Loch Ness. The Yeti.
He didn't wrestle him.
The Yeti.
He wrestled Luger. He wrestled Arn Anderson. He wrestled Sting. This is like Nitro. So he wrestled Savage a bunch of times.
Oh yeah.
The Shark.
The Shark.
The Boss. The Booty, or the Man with No Name.
The Man with No Name, Man with No Face.
Kevin Sullivan.
Right, so like
Flair.
That was Hogan's big thing, was like after he crushed Flair and Vader, he just started importing all of these like guys, like his level of like, big heels that were super ginger in the ring. And it was a lot of very kabuki-ish, as they say.
Well, I don't think Vader was very ginger in the ring. Everybody
Not Vader. I'm talking about after Vader and after Flair, after he got rid of those guys.
The Z Solution, or the Gangsta.
Ultimate Solution and Z Gangsta. That match, again, I go down, that match is like the biggest, like, crock of horse shit, I think.
Uncensored 97? No,
96.
95.
96, I think.
96?
Yeah, that was like towards the end of the Hogan shit.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
It was uncensored 96, and they do the fucking...
Hogan and Savage versus the world.
Versus literally the coalition to end Hulkamania, and it was literally like every heel. Arn and Flair. I know we've talked about this before too, but it's like it's that much of a ridiculous thing that this match existed. It was literally Hogan and Macho Man against Flair, Arn,
Z Gangsta.
Hold on. I'm going through like the tiers. I'm remembering Barbarian Haku,
They were there?
Lex Luger, Sullivan. That's 6. Then I think the other 2 at the bottom of the cage they brought out was the Z Gangsta and who was Zeus and Ultimate Solution. So it's 8 on 2. 8 on 2. I'll say that for a third time. 8 on 2. And they're somehow trying to tell the story that these 2 guys were able to outwit and kick the shit out of 8 other guys.
Main event guys. Some of them main event guys.
Most of main event guys.
Luger?
Fucking those 2 fucking.
Maybe not Barbarian. But,
Well, Ming and Barbarian were also bigger deals over there. Arn could main event if you wanted him to. Sullivan was main eventing.
If you remember, the way they were building Ming was nobody could hurt him. Remember that?
That's true.
Dusty fucking busted the chair over his head, didn't affect him.
Oh yeah, well, that was facts.
When he was Colonel Parker's like bodyguard.
Oh, that was great. Colonel Parker, in my opinion, is possibly the most underrated manager. Who's more who is someone that you never hear about that was amazing as a manager?
He never did anything for me.
Oh my god, check your fucking pulse, dude.
He came out with a fucking handkerchief, wiped his sweat off his face.
But come on, the character, him moving around the way that he did. He was just such a cartoon character, which is so great for a manager. Plus, he was a great bump, even as a manager.
He was a former wrestler.
Right. Which, again, all the best managers fucking take that one good bump, or know how to take that one good fucking death bump, and know their shit. Gotta know your psychology in order to be a manager. But I digress. You continue in where a lot of those shows and a lot of those storylines, like again, WCW went from a point where, like, yeah, I mean, it was the early 90s, so, like, you're gonna get a lot of kabuki-ish shit.
But asking questions, you just fucking yapping away.
No, there's a few, but it's mostly just comments that, you know.
We still know who that fucking guy is.
Okay.
That came out, we were talking about, I don't know, a few months ago. Came out like a boa, and he was dancing with a fucking spear. And it looked like Johnny B. Bad kind of, but it wasn't him. The spear chucker fucking gimmick.
Joe thinks he's seen Stop a Simba.
No. Yeah, they showed an ECW documentary.
Maybe I'll watch that tonight, who knows. He is Mexican. Better than nothing. Having an Iron Sheik moment here. So, going back into everything, you had some of your kabuki-ish shit, some of the, ridiculous, but for the most part, let's go back to that pay-per-view where you had Johnny B. Bad, who was, like, certainly a gimmick, but also, like, it's believable that you've got this, like, Little Richard-looking effeminate dude who could still knock you out because he's, a trained boxer. DDP is on there. He's a cartoon character, but still somewhat believable. Vader, Boss Man, believable. And Joe's getting a call from an EMT. I don't know if you knew this, everybody, but Joe's cousin Ernie's an EMT. If you ask him, I'll tell you that. Again, I'm just going through all the other things. Cactus and the Nasty Boys gimmick, but still You know, believable. Cactus and all them, believable. Steve Austin, Pillman, all these guys on the show, it was...
Stable.
Right, it was a bit more realistic and a bit more like wrestling. They were definitely going after more of the serious wrestling fans. Cut to when Hogan comes in, and it's all kabuki-ish.
And Hogan didn't even look good when he came in. He looked like he was deflated.
Yeah, it was off the stuff. But again, if you go through it, it's like fucking the giant is falling off the building and then comes back unscathed. You got the entire Dungeon of Doom, which is just so ridiculous. Yeah, it was a lot of fucking hokey, ridiculous shit. And like, as a kid, the Yeti! I still have no idea why fucking Shivani called it the Yeti.
I had no idea why that gimmick was started and just like...
It was a mummy.
Wait, no, it was a abominable snowman.
It was a mummy!
That's the way he was dressed, but the Yeti's the abominable snowman.
I'm aware, but he was dressed like a mummy!
Then he came back dressed as a giant ninja.
His super giant ninja, yeah. By, what was it, World War III of that year?
He was still called the Yeti, though.
The Yeti. Anyway. You bring in all these guys for the Dungeon of Doom, and it's just... I think... I mean, again, as a kid, I watched anything that was wrestling.
You had Regal at the time, that he was a TV champion.
Right, Regal was a fucking hell of a talent.
Yeah. Well, he might have been tagging with Bobby Eaton at the time.
No, I think he was still singles right before Hogan came in. Because he wrestled a singles match on that show. As a TV champ, I believe.
Right, when Hogan was there, he was doing the Blue Bloods. Okay.
Right.
Okay. You guys went into each other after a while.
Yeah. Well, maybe for you.
Rick Rude maybe was there.
Rude was there. That's what I'm saying. A lot of these guys, it was like legit, and like you could look back on it. It's like, wow.
Nikita Koloff.
Oh, he wasn't done.
Wasn't there?
No, he was done.
Right?
He was done. Russian sickle.
The Awesome Kongs, were they there?
The Colossal Kongs. It was just before this.
Okay. Tex Lassinger and Shanghai Pierce.
They're still before this. Going in again, you're bringing out all of this super hokey, ridiculous kind of shit, and it just, like I was saying before, as a kid, I would watch anything. If something was wrestling, I watch it. If there was a TV show and wrestling was a topic on it, I was watching it because I wanted to take in as much wrestling as possible.
Stop for a minute. I know you're sitting there saying that the wrestling was real serious, but if you remember a year or two prior to all this, the Stampede '94,
yes,
you had Oz, you had Black Bad Blood, or whatever the
Black
fuck
Blood,
Big
right.
Josh.
But they got
news.
They switched it around. They made it more of a wrestling promotion, and people fucking I don't know how people responded to it. I just know that pay-per-view to me is one of the absolute best WCW ever put on. So I watched as a kid, even the hokey stuff you could watch, but at the same time, I switched the channel, and what is this? Was 94?
Yeah, spring of '94.
Right, so then you change the channel, and it's Owen and Brett doing like a fucking brothers hate each other storyline. It's
they were good matches.
Excellent matches. You got
Yoko
Undertaker, which the matches weren't
kind of at the end because he left for a little
right,
bit.
but fucking the matches weren't great. But at the same time, it was still big guy versus big guy. Like, oh man, like these two fucking characters that can work their asses off. Shawn and Razor. Oh my god, like.
And then you had Doink and Bam Bam Bigelow.
Right, but even fucking, I like Doink because he was like fun. As a kid,
that was the Ray Apollo Doink at this point.
I don't know who it was.
It was when he was a face. It became Ray Apollo. That was a good friend of Bam Bam Bigelow. It
could be Alabama Doink for all I care. That's Joe's favorite wrestler.
That clown was walking around WrestleCon.
He was.
Idiot.
He's the best. Alabama Doink. Speaking of kabuki-ish. Anyway, I think WCW was certainly like right before they'd even brought in the NWO, you had found yourself in a situation where there was nothing of worth going on there. Like, what was going on in WCW that really made you want to watch? You had, I think it was right before, or not right before, but maybe a couple months before, where Hogan had done that. He can't trust anybody, so he was dressing in all black like he was Johnny Cash. Shit.
I remember that, but I don't know what the story was behind it. I don't know what the fuck was going on with that. WCW, I just got bored.
I thought it was hilarious. He came out in a fucking neck brace, and he just looked